Should we wait a minute, or are we?
No, we can.
Are we just about there?
Yeah, we can start whenever you're
And there's four soloists
4 soloists and
a trio.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. It's still morning for me, technically. So good afternoon. Yeah, and I like to do these things pretty informally too. So if anybody has any questions or anything, just raise your hand and we'll ask you to leave. No.
Okay, so I have 2 pieces for performance. The first one is an etude by Leo Brouwer, and the second one is Allegro, also by Leo Brouwer.
Allegro. Is it also from this?
It's from a different one.
A different one?
Yeah, right here.
Just take a look and see.
Okay, so I think that's the Saraband, yeah. It's the one before.
I don't want to mess up your pages. Yeah. But it's one of these studies.
Yeah.
It's one of these simple, quote unquote simple studies, which aren't so simple, are they?
Not in practice, no.
I guess for Leo they were simple, but for us they're challenging. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a look.
Okay.
All right. Wow. Well, you had no reason at all to be nervous because you were super well prepared.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, really, really good. I was just watching how much attention you gave to, dynamics, for instance. The preparation in your right hand, especially when you were playing the loud stuff at the beginning, was really good. You were kind of really digging into the string.
Yeah, that's what my professor always tells me to do. Before I used to do almost a bartok pizzicato where I would snap the strings.
It hurts me just to watch you do that. Of course, when if you're playing bartok, it's great.
Yeah.
But no, it's working really well. There's a lot to talk about here, and we have another piece to talk about too.
Yeah.
But when you played your quietest stuff, it seemed that you sort of abandoned that, slight dig into the strings, and you were sort of wisping by it a little bit. And it's funny that sometimes when we play loud, it's easier to get a good sound than when we play quiet. Let me see if I'm in tune with you to start.
I'm in drum too, so.
I'll come up to you. So when you're doing that section, I felt like when you play really quietly, we still need to feel that slight tug on the string that you were like. Play this where you're. So you're doing a really good job of sort of driving the string down before you. And you still want to feel that here, but it's just less. It's like either you push against something really hard or you gently push it.
Oh, okay. So you don't abandon it.
Well, actually, I think the best analogy for it is have you ever shot a bow and arrow?
No.
You ever done any archery?
No, I would love to try it.
No,
But
I haven't either. So because I'm afraid that I would rip my nails off on the release. But the analogy for the guitar is so apt. Because when let's say you have your arrow. I know nothing about archery actually, but you've got this taut string like this, and it wants to desperately stay where it is.
Yeah.
You take the bow and you put the bow in carefully and you pull it, and now the bow has lots of potential energy.
Right.
And then you just let it go, and the arrow flies. Right.
Yeah.
And if you want it to go really far, you pull it really far. If you want it to go less, you don't pull it as far,
Yeah.
but you still pull it.
Okay.
You don't, if you want it to go a short distance, you don't just sort of go, just barely touch it, and in a way you're, this is sort of poetic, but in a way your finger is the arm pulling the bow back, and the arrow is the note. So, when you're about ready to hit a note, and you're doing it perfectly when you play the beginning. The way you're driving the string in, you don't have to do anything when you want to play it. It just comes out.
Yeah.
Well, you should feel the same way. It's just that you're not going to try to shoot the arrow as far. But you still want to feel that touch. Especially with your A finger. That's the one that I feel like you're sort of reluctant to dig in.
It's just those high notes really stand out in the passage, especially when you have the inner voices.
Absolutely. No, and you don't want it to be. I'm not saying to play it too loud, but it almost feels like you're going around the note. Like just seat your A finger on the first string, and just feel like, okay, that's the spot I want it. And now push it really hard and let it go. And now push it less, but still move it and let it go. Now do. And even when it comes back here. Yeah, because I think more than just piano here, I think what he wants is something that's really sweet. And so I don't want this kind of tone. I want more warmth.
Okay.
And using the bow and arrow analogy again, where you aim the arrow, that like the way you pull it depends on where it's going to go, not how far, but where it's going to go.
Okay.
And in a sense, the direction that you push the string changes the tone of the note. The more you drive it like down and into the guitar, the way you're doing this, the more you like kind of move the strings down like this before you let them go, the warmer the sound. The more you pull them out and away, like that Bartok Pitts technique you were doing before, the brighter the sound. Now, if you know that, that's fine. If you want to play, let's say I'm just gonna, just pluck notes with my index finger and not move this way or not move anything, but only change the direction of the pluck.
Right.
So So it's pretty interesting. You guys can hardly even see me changing anything, right? It's almost impossible to even you up close.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see the difference, but the difference is.
You're moving your finger just a tiny bit to the side, just angle.
Well, the difference is the warm sounding notes. I'm moving the string and releasing them below the level of the other strings. The bright one, I'm pulling up and sort of tightening up the tip joint and pulling up. And so if you want a bright note, you can get it, or a dark note. And sometimes it's just how much, a little bit of looseness you keep in the tip joints, just a little bit, not so loose that they go floppy like a rubber band, but a gentleness, as my teacher Pepe Romero would say. You have to be gentle.
Pepe Romero was your teacher?
With this thing, of course.
That's fantastic.
I studied with him for many years. No, he was teaching at USC when I first arrived there in 1977. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. Yeah, and now he's back at USC as our artist in residence. So I know Pepe very well. Anyway, I don't want to make too much out of this because this is really a left-hand exercise, isn't it? It's funny that he says this is an exercise for ornaments, but it's really also an arpeggio exercise, isn't it? It's really, all about arpeggios. Okay, but the point is that the more you stay in touch with the strings, and especially your A finger. So let's just do that spot one more time, and just think of it every time your A finger gets ready to pluck. I'm going to reach in and touch your knee, okay? Just this, instead of doing this, scratch, scratch, you're just going to try to push it in a little bit and relax the tip joint a tiny bit. When I say, here, let me see your finger. Just a little bit of flexibility, a little bit, just not tight, just a little bit to soften the release. It's a new idea for you? You're still not quite getting it. I want you to feel when you touch the string, stop, and feel that your finger really pushes the string in a little bit, just like you did when you played loud, and then let it go. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Can you feel the difference?
Yes.
Try this passage now. Do it slow. Much better. Beautiful. See, that's warm and full sounding. And then once you start getting loud, you're usually fine. Very good. Okay, great. So let's talk a little bit about these little slur things, which you're doing a very good job on, I think.
Okay.
The only thing that he doesn't really tell us is he doesn't tell us how fast to do the little turns.
I always think that they're before the beat, but then my professor tells me that they should be on the beat, so I don't know.
I think they should be on the beat.
Okay.
It feels to me like you're going bom ba di dom di dom da da dom di da dom. But I think it's bom ba di dom da dom da.
Yeah, just like my professor says.
See? We all think alike.
Okay.
So in a sense, your right hand, if you want to think of it this way, it's like your right hand doesn't know you're going to do a slur. Your right hand just plucks the note when it would pluck the note. So if you didn't have a slur there, you would do this. Boom, ba, da, da, and then you just boom, ba. Right?
Okay.
So do that one. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about in a way about ascending and versus descending slurs, and what he does here. These are called what we call compound slurs. In other words, you have a pull off followed by a hammer on, and then this one you have a hammer on followed by a pull off, right?
Okay.
And there's even more complex ones where he has you pull off with one finger and hammer on with another, right? So there's all kinds of complicated things in this one.
There's this one too.
Right, and then he has, all these complicated things. So they're tricky to do, the thing that in a sense, this is like a higher level, kind of study. I almost want you to start from here to just start thinking about just the hammer-on itself. Okay, can you do that? Good, okay, so this is just the hammer-on. Okay, and the thing about hammer-ons is a hammer-on is the one thing that we do with the left hand that I think is active. Almost everything else we do with the left hand, it's passive. It just gently pushes the string down and it doesn't get too excited. It doesn't make the note happen. But the hammer-on, you have to actually hit the string with enough speed, not necessarily strength, but enough speed to make it sound. Okay? And so what you have to do with a hammer-on is try to move your finger quicker to the string. It's not about how hard you push when you land, but you have to land quick. Now, have you ever done any home repair and used a hammer and nail?
Not too much.
Okay.
No.
Well, I avoid that too because I don't want to hit my thumb with it. Okay. But if you're going to hammer something, right? So you got the nail and then you got the hammer. If you start too close, you can't get the hammer moving fast enough, right? But if you start too far away, you'll probably miss and hit. There's like this perfect distance where you still know that you're going to hit accurately, but you're going to land with enough. And when you hammer, you sort of let the hammer do the work. You like accelerate, and then boom, it just follows through. You don't like push your way down. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, your finger, when it's going to hammer on, has to do the same thing. Sometimes you have to slightly back off, like just pull back a little bit, so you have a little more room to go, whook, to throw your finger down. So watch. If I start, you're starting too close usually, and there's not enough acceleration. But watch. And it's almost like once I land, I sort of stop pushing. I mean, I'm still holding it, but I'm not squeezing. Try it.
Okay.
Much better. Much better. The hardest one is 4, right? That's much better. Very good. This one, not so good. Yeah, you're going to have to kind of lift it up. Exactly. That's much better. Very good. Okay. So now a pull off, which is, let's see, where's a good example? He doesn't have very many single pull-offs in this piece. I guess there's just one there.
Well, we have
No, I'm talking about the descending slur. So let's look at that. There's 2 in a row there. Good. Okay. So a pull-off. Usually people think of that as being an active thing. It's like I go da ya da da dee ya. I'm pulling my finger off, right? But what I like to think of them is that they're relax offs. Okay. All right. And the point is, like, let's say you're going to go 4-3, okay, and 4 is going to pull off. Yeah. When your 4th finger is getting ready to do the pull off, it doesn't push straight down like as if it were just fretting the note. It adds a little bit of like a curl, so it's right, exactly. It's already thinking that it's going to follow through a little bit into the hand. Okay. It's not just pushing; it's slightly curling. So because it's already curling, it's like it wants to go that way. And then when you want to hear the note, you just let it fall off the string. It's sort of just. So instead of going ya da da ya da da, it's ya ah, which physically matches the musical characteristic of a descending slur. Exactly. Do that again. I shouldn't have been talking while you did such a great job. So you're doing a better job with 2 than you are with 4 right now.
Yeah.
So you should feel like, exactly. And some people get a little better result when they do a pull-off like that, to think of what's the difference between rest stroke and free stroke in the right hand? What's the difference?
Well, one is more legato, where you're not resting on the string, and the other one, I like to think of it as walking on the strings, because you're just walking.
And with rest stroke, your finger lands on the next string,
Yeah.
right? And free stroke, it ends up in the air, right?
Right.
Well, if you think about it, you'll always get a better tone with a rest stroke pull-off than a free stroke one. Well, I'll do it on a different string so that there's watch my fourth finger. That's a free stroke pull-off. I didn't hit the next string, but see how it's resting?
Yeah.
Instead of. So if it lands on the next string, it means that I've driven it downward more, right?
Okay.
Instead of pulling it up and away. And you'll always get a better tone. Now sometimes you have to do something where you have to go and you have to have the next higher string ring, and then then you have to do free stroke, unless you do this kind of pull.
That's why I was worried about the ornament
I do that
here.
sometimes. I go the other way, which is a little unusual. Okay, so my point is, when you do this, try to feel like you're driving your string down, your finger down.
Okay.
Try it.
Okay.
Keep going.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, good. Okay. Now we've done, hammer-ons and pull-offs separately. Now to put them together into these compound slurs, then what you want to try to do is everything we just talked about the pull-off, right? And everything we just talked about the hammer-on, but happening really fast together. Okay? And I kind of want to start with the compound ascending one. This one.
Okay.
Just do that by itself. Good. So remember first just do the hammer-on, and then do the pull-off. So when you do the hammer-on by itself, you're getting a really good pop out of it, right? When you do it quickly, you're not getting quite as good of a pop, right? Because you're not landing quite as well. So it's really good to practice it separately.
Okay.
Exactly. And here's the thing. When you do compound slurs, especially ascending, descending ones, what I like to think of, instead of two separate movements with my finger, instead of thinking, okay, my finger goes up and back, I'm sort of thinking like, okay, when I do the hammer-on, it's slightly moving in this direction.
Okay.
And when it does the pull-off, it's moving in this direction. So it's almost like my finger's just making a little oval. It's just going, do-ya, one movement, do-ya. But it just happens that at the, is there a math person here? What would be the extreme point of an oval? Not the apogee or whatever. Whatever, that at that one point, at the highest point of that curve, it happens to intersect the string. So instead of going do-ya, I'm going do-ya. So instead of, that's two separate movements. I'm just thinking my finger going exactly.
Okay.
Now that one's harder, because that one you have to pull off, quickly reset, get back to hammer on. So the harder ones are always because you have to reset, right? Try that one.
Just the second step.
Good. So the trick with the pull-off ones is make sure that right before you do them, that you're feeling that you're pulling the string down already in the direction you want it to go. You're not just pushing it straight down, but there's that little curve to like with your first finger here, a little bit of curve that it's going that, like a little bit that way, not straight in. Try it from here. Oh, you're doing it with your second finger, I'm sorry. So your second finger, exactly. once you get them all, happening, when you have, like you have this one, then you have to have 2 ready to hammer on, or you have these, a double one, and then he gets really mean later on. This one's nasty, right? That's when this one is. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're doing good, and
At least it's not as bad as Paganini. Paganini had a bar where you had to reach with a pinky and bar and you're way over here. It's like, oh my god.
well, technically, Paganini didn't do that to us because he wrote it on violin.
He wrote it for a violin, but the transcription is
Yeah,
just.
that's whoever did that transcription. Is it Eliot?
Probably.
Probably.
I think so.
Well, his hands are twice as big as everybody else's, so you can feel free to ignore that. Do that ending thing.
Okay.
Do it again. Yeah, I kind of want to. Do you think? Yeah, I want that really clear.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Good. Okay, play the other one. Let's do a little bit of. Is it in D tuning too?
No. I have my tuner if you want.
Sorry. Sorry.
I wish I could do that.
What? Tune the guitar?
No, by ear.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. I do rely on the little digital tuner, but just to get you close, I mean, it's maybe, it's like an example of, if you ask, most kids these days, what's your home phone number? They're like, I don't know. I just hit the button on my phone. I don't know what my phone number is, right? And it's sort of like, how do you tune the guitar? Well, you push this button here, and he tells you, I mean, I know I'm sounding like real old school, but it is good to learn how to. I think these are great for getting you close, but you gotta tune. Actually, our ears, I think, are much more sensitive than those digital tuners. Especially because the guitar is so hard to tune anyway. Even if you perfectly tune it, you're still probably going to be slightly out of tune. You have to like adjust it, Yeah. Okay. All right, nice job. Very good. a lot of stuff we talked about with the slurs, you know, you could apply some of the stuff we talked about. You weren't quite doing that yet, you know, with this piece. You know, so I would encourage you to, you know, do some slow work with it. In a sense, because he has, like, you have notes that are down, fingers that are down. They have to lift and then do a hammer-on. In a way, they're really great for practicing hammer-ons because it's sort of like they're down, they come up from where they were and they go back where they were. So you feel like there's this real defined little trajectory or track that they go when they lift up. And the one thing about guitar technique that, you know, it's something that Pepe Romero really talks about a lot, but it's not like a universally discussed idea. But it's the idea that when your fingers are down on the string, they should be tense. And when your fingers are not on the string, they should be relaxed. I mean, it's a really simple thing, but it's really hard to do. I think this is a great place to practice that. And the question is, when you just play the first 3 notes of this piece, and don't do the hammer-on. No, play up to there. Right. And so the question you can ask yourself is, when you lift your fingers to get them ready to do the hammer-on, they're in position, they're ready, but are they relaxed? Or do you have to pull them away? Do you have to and have them tight in the air? Yours look pretty relaxed, actually, but it's something you should remind yourself when you're in the air. It's like your fingers go, and then they're sort of open and ready to accelerate back down. But if they're sort of tight in the air, there's something holding them back from going back down again. So you could make a little study where you go, and you can even stop before you do the hammer-on and reach over with this hand and flick it. And if it's hard and filled with energy, it's not going to do as well as if it's here. Okay, now, feel the difference? So now you do it.
Okay.
Bill, can we just 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Should I try to relax?
You should always try to relax. Well, actually, right now it's this guy, isn't it?
Is this good? Okay.
Because that's. Now keep going. So just stop right there before you do that hammer-on. So you keep it in position, but it's empty. It's not tight. And then you can go down a lot quicker.
Okay.
Right, exactly. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so you work on that. We are almost out of time. I would say sometimes when you were playing these guys with your fingers, you were starting to do that Bartok Fitz a little bit. You know, he says this is an exercise for legatos and the thumb. I think all the notes on the 4th string should be with the thumb. I think that's what he wants. And the other thing is, we can't do rest stroke that much with the thumb because technically the 3rd string is still ringing. But have you done much work with rest stroke in your thumb? Or is that like a new concept? Like if you played this melody.
Not with this piece. I usually just do it for arpeggios and scales.
Yeah,
but
I mean, to me, this one's screaming for rest stroke in the thumb.
Okay.
You know. Or at least a heavier sound in the thumb, and then you don't have to resort to your fingers, right? Now, the only other thing was, you know, you did a really good job of when he says, okay, change your color, you know, like here he says, un po